You walked out this morning with a scoop of seed in your hand. Same coffee mug, same slippers, the same familiar path across the grass to the feeder. You probably didn't look up. You were thinking about your to-do list, the weather, or the news. But somewhere in the maple tree, or tucked behind the fence, or perched on the power line 2 yards over, there was a bird, likely more than one, watching you. They weren't watching you casually or by accident. They were watching you the way you would watch a stranger walking up your own driveway. They were processing your movements, evaluating your intent, and making decisions about you before you even finished pouring the seed. Welcome back. Today, we're exploring the quiet, invisible transformation that happens the moment you decide to feed the birds. Most people think of bird feeding as a simple, one-way act. You give, they take, end of story. But it's much stranger and more profound than that. After a few weeks of this routine, those birds know things about you, real, specific things. By the time we're finished, you're going to see yourself the way the birds in your yard already see you. And I promise you, by the end of this, you will realize that you aren't just a person with a bird feeder, you are a fixed point in a wild world. The audience you didn't know you had. We like to think of ourselves as free spirits, moving through our day with total autonomy. But to a bird, you are a pattern. From a branch with a clean line of sight to your back door, a chickadee or a house finch can see your kitchen window. They can see when the light flicks on in the morning. They can hear the specific metallic tang of the screen door spring. After about a week of you showing up with food, they don't just react to you, they start arriving before you do. Not just most days, but every single day. This happens because birds living near your yard are constantly performing a high-stakes calculation. They burn an enormous amount of energy just staying alive. A tiny chickadee in winter can lose up to 10% of its body weight overnight. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing you've lost 15 pounds that you didn't have to spare. Because of this, they cannot afford to guess where their next meal is coming from. They cannot afford to check the feeder later. They have to know, and the way they know is by watching you. They notice the exact time of day the seed appears. They notice the sequence of signals. First the porch light, then the door, then the sound of the lid on the seed bin. By day 5 or 6, this sequence triggers a behavior change. The bird stops foraging in the back lot and starts staking out your maple tree instead. It has, in a very real sense, scheduled its day around yours. You are a landmark. There is something even deeper happening here. Birds have extraordinary spatial memory that allows them to remember thousands of food cache locations across hundreds of acres with incredible accuracy, even months later. This means that when you start feeding them, you don't just become a source of food, you become a landmark. You have become a fixed point in that bird's mental landscape. Your presence, your routine, and even your silhouette through the glass are now part of the bird's map of the world. But it isn't just a human they are mapping. It is you, specifically. There is hard science to back this up. Researchers studying corvids, the family of birds that includes crows, jays, and magpies, found that these birds can distinguish between individual human faces. In one study, researchers wore masks while banding wild birds. When they walked through the same parks weeks, months, or even years later wearing those same masks, the birds remembered. They scolded, they dive-bombed, and they even told other birds about the dangerous face. The smaller songbirds at your feeder might not be quite as sharp as a crow, but they are closer than you'd guess. From their perch, they are looking at the shape of your face, the color of the jacket you wear most mornings, the way you walk, and the height you stand at. They build a "this one is safe" profile. And that profile is yours alone, not your household's, not your neighbor's, yours. If you want to test this, have someone else in your home fill the feeder for a few days while you stay inside. You'll notice the birds scatter further. They'll take longer to come down. Some might not come at all until they see you through the window. That's not a coincidence. It's recognition. To a bird, misidentifying a safe human as a dangerous one wastes precious energy on a panic flight. Misidentifying a dangerous one as safe gets them eaten by a cat. Their brains have spent real evolutionary effort getting good at telling us apart. You have a file in the brain of every regular bird in your yard. The language of your body. We often forget that birds evolved alongside predators that telegraph their intent through movement. A hawk gliding is hunting. A hawk perched still might just be resting. A cat low to the ground is stalking. A cat walking upright probably isn't. Reading movement is the oldest survival skill in their playbook, and they use that same software to scan you. Think about how you walk to the feeder. A bird perched 20 feet up can pick up your mood in about a second. They notice whether your shoulders are loose or tight, whether you're looking down at your phone or scanning the area, and whether your steps are even or hurried. When you walk out relaxed, coffee in hand, with no rush, the birds at the feeder will often barely move. A newthatch might just hop to the other side of the trunk. A junco might hop 2 feet sideways. But when you walk out, stressed, late for work, or moving fast, those same birds will explode off the feeder. They didn't read your mind, they read your body. This is why, on the days you feel overwhelmed, taking 3 deep breaths before you walk outside can change the entire energy of your yard. Slowing down doesn't just help you, it keeps the yard calm for the birds too. The map of your yard. Every regular bird in your yard is carrying a mental map that is likely more detailed than yours. From where a cardinal sits in your hedge, it knows exactly where the feeder is, how far the nearest cover is, and how many seconds it would take to reach the maple tree if a hawk dropped in. It knows which window of your house the cat usually sits in. It knows which corner of the yard gets the sun first in the morning, and which side of the feeder is upwind on a cold day. It even knows which branches sway too much in the wind to land on safely. The moment you started feeding, you became a fixed landmark on that map. Your back door is now a feature. Your usual path across the grass is a route. The spot where you stand to refill the feeder is a specific location with its own associated risk level and timing. And this map is alive. It updates within hours. If a hawk strikes or a cat attacks, the map changes. Areas get marked unsafe, and birds avoid spots they used to favor. This is why it's so important to keep the map stable. If you move the feeder constantly or change where you stand, you create uncertainty. The more predictable you are, the more confident your regulars become, and the more birds you will eventually see. The connection through the glass. Sometimes, the relationship moves from the feeder to the window. You might have noticed a bird landing on your ledge and looking directly at you. Something inside you goes still when it happens. You might tell yourself it's just a coincidence, but research suggests birds can be highly sensitive to what's happening inside your home. Birds have hearing that works differently than ours. They can detect low-frequency vibrations and are exquisitely sensitive to sound patterns, like the rhythm of a human voice. Some birds, like mockingbirds and starlings, will investigate unfamiliar sounds with intense curiosity. If you talk to yourself in the morning, if you pray out loud, or if you sing, you may have an audience you never knew about. Birds that return to a window morning after morning are often responding to a consistent sound or rhythm that has become familiar to them. You have been heard. And then there is the eye contact. This is different from a bird just looking toward you. It's a bird that looks at you, holds your gaze, and doesn't startle when you move closer to the glass. Science tells us that certain birds, like crows, have a theory of mind. They understand that you have your own perspective and intentions. They know when you are watching them. But people report this held gaze with all kinds of birds: cardinals, mourning doves, and robins. It is an intentional stillness that the simple brain of a common yard bird isn't supposed to be capable of. It suggests a depth of connection that science is still trying to catch up with. The weight of the visit. For many people, feeding the birds becomes something more than a hobby. It becomes a source of comfort. There is a specific emotional weight to the birds that visit us, particularly the red cardinal. In many cultures, there is a deeply held belief that cardinals are messengers from those we have lost. You've likely heard the saying, "When a cardinal appears, a loved one is near." While science might point to territorial behavior or spatial memory, it cannot fully explain the timing of these visits. There are countless testimonies of birds appearing at a window at almost exactly the same time a person used to have coffee with a lost loved one, or a bird appearing for the first time in the days following a funeral, only to vanish after the memorial service. Science doesn't have a mechanism for this. It cannot explain why a bird chooses your window out of all the windows on the street at that specific moment of grief. But the weight of human experience across centuries suggests that the boundary between our world and theirs might be thinner than we think. Sometimes, a visit is just a visit. But sometimes, something that loves you finds a way to say, I see you. You're not alone. A quiet relationship. So, here is what the birds in your yard already know about you. They know your schedule and the exact sequence of your morning routine. They know your face and have a file on you that distinguishes you from everyone else. They know the difference between you on a good day and you on a bad day just by the way you carry your shoulders. They have built a map of your yard with you in the middle of it, and they update that map every single day. You walked out this morning thinking you were just feeding the birds. You weren't. You were stepping into a relationship that's been going on quietly for as long as you've been showing up. It is a relationship where they have been doing most of the watching, most of the learning, and most of the remembering. The yard you walk through every day to the birds living there, it is a world they know better than you do. Tomorrow, before you refill that feeder, I want you to try something. Stop for just 30 seconds. Stand by the door and think about what the birds are already noticing. Your jacket, your timing, the mood you brought outside with you. Nature is talking. We just have to learn how to listen. I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think the birds in your yard have figured out about your routine? Have you noticed them waiting for you? Or is there a specific bird that seems to know you better than the others? I read every single story, and they are truly the best part of this journey. If this video reached you at the right time, please share it with someone who might need a reminder that they aren't alone in their backyard. I'll see you in the next one.